Hello and welcome to this series on Pirkei Avot. It's thousands of years of rabbinic wisdom condensed into just a few pages, and we're going through it bit by bit, line by line. This is chapter 1, Mishnah 5. The Mishnah begins, Yossi ben Yochanan, Ish Yerushalayim. So Yossi, son of Yochanan, a man of Jerusalem, said, Yehi beitcha patuach l'rucha, v'yu anim b'nei beitcha. May your home be open wide, and may the poor people be members of your household. So, may your house be open wide. That's obvious. Your house should be open to welcome guests and people like that. There's a mitzvah in Judaism called Haknasat Orchim, welcoming guests. But he also says that poor people should be members of your household. So that requires a little bit of explanation. The Rambam says he's talking about that you should hire poor people to be servants in your home instead of buying slaves. In essence, even though slavery, quote unquote, although really it's a sort of indentured servitude, but even that, there is a rabbinic tradition that even though it might be permitted according to the Torah, it's not a good thing. It's not something that the Torah is telling you should do. It's something which was common in the society, and so the Torah regulates it. But the rabbis here are saying that's not the preferred way of doing it. The preferred way is if you are a person with means and you need people to do work around your home, it's better to just pay poor people rather than buy a contract worker for 7 years, essentially what the Torah calls a slave. It's preferable to just pay poor people. Then, as soon as they get less poor, their situation can improve instead of sort of locking someone into a situation for 7 years, which is not seen as being as charitable. Now the controversial part. Va'al taube sicha im haisha, and don't increase speaking with the woman. So he's saying, don't talk too much to a woman. What does he mean? What woman? Ha-isha, the woman. What does he mean? It continues and explains. Be'ishto amru, he meant his wife, meaning you shouldn't hang out and chat too much with your wife. Kal v'chomer be'eshet chavero. All the more so, you shouldn't sit around and chat with the wife of your friend. Mikan amru chachamim kol zman she'adam marbe sicha im ha'isha gorem ra'a la'atzmo ubutal midivrei Torah v'sofo yoresh gehenom. From this, the sages said, all the time that a man increases his speaking with a woman, all the amount of time a man spends speaking to a woman, this causes bad to him. It takes him away from words of Torah, and his end will be to inherit Gehenom, which is sort of the Jewish closest thing we have to hell. It's a little bit different, but we can just go with that. So why is it so bad to hang out and talk to women? Well, first of all, I want to bring down the level of outrage here that's necessary, because really, according to the Rambam, he's not really talking about it's not the fact that she's a woman that's the problem. The problem is what a woman in his day was, from Rambam's day and before, meaning including the time of the sages. So in the time of the sages, it was assumed the educated people, the Torah scholars, were men, and women were broadly not educated. They were not taught things. In terms educationally, they remained like children. So he's saying, so the Rambam's take on this is that he's saying, yeah, essentially, when you're speaking with people who are not educated, you, a Torah scholar, or someone who's trying to hold himself to high Torah standards, you should talk to other people who are educated and whatnot, and you speak with your wife when that's with the woman you're married to, with your wife when it's part of your relationship, but don't sit around and talk with her just indefinitely and spend your sort of free time hanging out and chatting with her, because that's going to bring down the level of your conversation. This is just part of a general principle that, who your friends are, who you hang out with, who you spend time with, is going to have an effect on you. The Rambam says here that talking with women, when men are talking with women, it's always about sex, because in those days, men and women, they were not intellectual companions the way we might think of people being today. Jewish men were very educated. Jewish women generally were not, just like most women in the world until relatively recently. And so therefore it was what did men and women do together? Right? So that would be sort of the direction of conversation, or if not about sex specifically, it would be, not about sort of high Torah concepts. So it's sort of a waste of time for someone who's trying to better themselves. Today, in this case, we wouldn't apply that so much to men talking to women, but we would perhaps apply the same logic to hanging out with people who like in the first Psalm, scoffers, people that look down on God, on Torah, on the things that we want to try to live up to. Yeah, there is a danger in hanging out and spending too much time with those people, because you become more like them. They might become a little more like you, but you'll likely become more like them as well, maybe even more so. So there's always a danger there. So now I'm going to bring back up the controversial aspect of this. I sort of explained it away, but it's not entirely explained. I can't entirely explain it away in a way that's comfortable for sort of modern people, because the truth is, a Torah worldview recognizes that when men and women are talking with each other or interacting, there is a sort of an inevitable sexual tension. And today, in modern Western culture, we generally, we might be talking to an attractive person of the opposite sex, and we might have a feeling that comes up inside of us or in our head, a thought that goes through our head or a feeling in our bodies, and we brush it off. We decide that it doesn't matter. Well, the Torah worldview says that that actually does matter, and that you should basically try to avoid it. So there is a limit that's set in a sort of Torah-oriented worldview on the casual interactions between men and women. For instance, very strictly forbidden for men and women to touch each other if they're not, a man and wife essentially that are permitted to each other, or close family. That's a law which people still follow today, and I think is a very wise one. And in fact, I think a lot of people in Hollywood and positions of power and whatnot would do very well to follow this rule. Also, to not be alone in a room together, men and women, because their idea is that the sexual drive is very powerful, and that despite even a person on a very high spiritual level, this is still an area that is a very difficult challenge for them, and therefore everybody should take proper precautions. In our modern society, obviously, we're desensitized more to men and women, to members of the opposite sex, being around each other, but still, you have to be very careful about it and be aware of it as an issue, and it is a real issue, and you should be aware of it. So that's all I have to say for this Mishnah. This is Chapter 1, Mishnah 5 of Pirkei Avot, Chapters of the Fathers.